Good morning, Southern California, AM 1220 KHTS. This is your host, Fred Arnold, on the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. I'm joined by my good friend, Steve Schaefer. Steve Schaefer is a reverse mortgage specialist with American Family Funding, and nobody knows reverse mortgages as well as Steve. And welcome to the show, Steve.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Fred. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. We want to talk really about the basics of reverse mortgages. You're looking for a reverse mortgage for yourself, for a family member, for a friend. There's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of misunderstandings. So let's just jump into some of the basics that you need to know when it comes to reverse. What are some of the requirements, Steve, of a reverse mortgage?
Reverse mortgage basically is just a government-insured mortgage that older homeowners use to access the equity in their home. You've got to be 62 and over. It's got to be your principal residence. So you can't do it with like rental property or income property. You have to continue to pay your property taxes and insurance, and you've got to properly maintain the home. Those are the basic requirements. The other thing when looking at it, to really make it work financially, you need not quite, but close to a 50% equity in your home. As you get older, that drops because you have a lower life expectancy. So say if you're in your 80s, that could drop into the 35% or 38%. But you do need a little bit more equity.
Right. So let's tackle the first one. 62 or over. Do both spouses have to be 62 or over if it's a joint tenancy type situation?
Anybody on title would have to be 62 or over. But there is a protection for, a lot of times I've had one couple who had the wife was still in her late 50s and the husband was 63. And they were able to do the reverse mortgage. She went on as a non-borrowing spouse, which means that should he pass before her, she would have the right to remain in the house without the monthly mortgage payment.
Oh, that's ideal then.
Yeah, which is the big.
So you accomplish your goal of what you need to get done.
Exactly.
Okay. You also mentioned primary residence. You have to live in it. You have to maintain property taxes and insurance, which is most of the time the case. But let's talk about loan to value. You're able to kind of look that up ahead of time to see what the value is to help out that homeowner.
Right. There are three factors that come into play with a reverse mortgage: the value of the property, the age of the youngest borrower on title, as well as current interest rates. So you look at those. As I had mentioned, in terms of your need for equity, the younger you are, the more equity you would need because you're going to be basically living for a longer period of time than someone who is in their late 80s or 90s. So that's factored in, and that's how you factor the loan to value. But again, anywhere from 35 to 50% equity is required to do it. The older you are, the closer you are to that 35% equity.
I want to tackle a myth that many people have thought, and that is once the last senior citizen, if you will, the homeowner that has reverse mortgage moves out of the house, either goes in assisted care, moves on, that the house is taken over by the bank. But that's not true, is it?
No, that isn't true. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions with reverse mortgages. The bank does not own your house, and it will not own your house. What happens when the last person on title leaves the home on a permanent basis, the reverse mortgage becomes due in full within a 6-month period following that person leaving. Typically, it's usually the children inherit the home, and they sell it. And from the proceeds of the sale of the home, they go and they pay off the balance on the reverse mortgage. Any excess equity goes to the children, so there's no shared equity in it.
We recently had one where the grandchildren got all the excess equity. We only have about 30 seconds, and we're going to jump to a quick break, and we're going to come back with examples of reverse mortgages. But what are the different ways in which you can access the funds for the home?
You can take a lump sum if you need to do repairs. You take monthly payments, much the same as a Social Security direct deposit.
So monthly, like $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month.
Exactly,
yes.
Whatever the numbers would work out for your personal situation. And you can also set up a line of credit, which is a great way to kind of look to the future and have money ready to go when you need it, to have that line that you can draw upon. And it's a little bit different than a home equity line of credit since there is no monthly payments due. With a reverse mortgage, no payments are due until the last person on title leaves the home.
Yep, and then you have 6 months to sell it, which is plenty of time typically.
Right. One key thing, too, is you can't be upside down on a reverse mortgage because it's government insured. The insurance will pay if the sale of the home is a little bit lower, the selling price is lower than what's owed on the mortgage, the FHA will pay the difference.
Yeah, and you won't your family will not be stuck with that
Exactly.
difference.
Non-recourse loan, great protection for you and your family.
Steve, we're going to jump to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the different ways in which Steve has helped those individuals solve their financial challenges as they retire. You're listening to AM 1220 KHTS.